100 years ago, a woman revealed the terrible secret that shook her family. Hello. Welcome. Like, subscribe and turn on notifications. Laura, a centenarian lady, was walking with her granddaughter Anna in a park in the city center. But suddenly the lady pointed her finger at an elderly man and said, "That's your father." Anna started laughing. Her father was still alive and well off. For her it was just another one of her grandmother's delusions. However, that man's features were very similar to hers. Even though it seemed silly, she couldn't get that man out of her head for a long time. Anna lived alone with her grandmother. The family was large, but only the granddaughter wanted to take care of Laura. Anna's only living father was a single man, and they rarely spoke to each other. Their financial situation was difficult, but Anna was a hard-working person who never turned down any job opportunity, and so she was able to take care of her grandmother, and even from a distance, she also took care of her father. Anna and her grandmother Laura would take the same walk every morning, and almost always that man would be there, sitting alone. Her grandmother always made the same gesture, raised her hand, pointed at the man and said, "That's your father." Anna started to get more and more nervous. She knew that her grandmother's mind was no longer the same and that she didn't always say things that made sense, but the fact that this happened so many times worried her. She then decided to do some research and look for some information. It was possible to get a DNA test, but she couldn't afford it, so Anna talked to a friend and asked for help on what to do. Her friend told her to take out a loan and get tested or to find out the blood types of family members. Anna researched her father's and mother's blood types, as well as her own, through medical tests. Her parents were both blood type O, and to her surprise she was A. From the little she had studied, she knew that it was not possible for them to be her parents, but even so she went after someone who had more knowledge than her to be sure. A teacher of her friend gave her 100% certainty that they were not her parents, since parents with blood type O can only have children. The truth took her by surprise, and Anna now wanted to know if that man was really her father and why her grandmother knew the truth, but only after decades and almost losing her sanity did her grandmother decide to tell the truth. Anna started going to the park more and more, even without her grandmother. One day she found that same man sitting in the park and stood next to him. Anna started talking to a man and learned that his name was Manuel. Manuel was a widower with no children. His wife had died of cancer years ago, and his only daughter had died at the age of 18 due to a genetic disease. Since then he had lived alone in a large and comfortable house. Manuel was retired, but he still worked because he didn't want to sit still and liked to keep his mind occupied. Anna increasingly frequented the square just to be able to talk more and meet her supposed father. At home she also tried to find out something about her grandmother, but only nonsense came out. She was at a dead end and was thinking of giving up on searching for the truth. She was always happy with her family and was always well treated, so she thought she could just be adopted. But there was one person left to ask. Her father, Nonato. Anna went to her father's house and made him his favorite dinner. She was a straightforward person, so she asked if she was adopted. Her father burst out laughing and said that she was his daughter. Anna then explained the whole situation and he became serious. "Your father barely studied, so he didn't understand anything," she said. "He just said, 'I saw you leaving your mother. I myself carried you in my arms. You are my blood daughter. From the moment you were born until the moment I left the hospital, I never took my eyes off you.'" Anna was confused, but she felt relief after hearing those words from her father. Thinking about it, she wouldn't pursue that anymore. What mattered was the love and affection that she and her father had, as well as her grandmother. Life went on as normal. Anna and her grandmother Laura continued to take their morning walks. One hot day, Laura left her grandmother alone and looked for a place to buy water. When she returned, she found Manuel talking to Laura. "Good morning, is she your grandmother? I tried to talk to her, but I can see that she is not very lucid. I was asking her name, because she looks a lot like an old friend of my family that I haven't seen for years." Anna said her grandmother's name and Manuel smiled broadly. "It's her, what a coincidence. Her grandmother Laura worked for many years in my house, but then she got a better job at the hospital and we lost contact," said Manuel. Anna discovered that her grandmother helped Manuel a lot when he had a daughter. Due to her illness, she needed care, and whenever she could, Laura helped. However, after a few years, Laura stopped visiting him and they never heard from her again. Anna, who had already given up, now wanted to know the truth. There were too many coincidences for her to deny everything that was happening. Manuel continued to tell her about the past. He met her mother. The two spoke a few times, but they never became friends. He also said that his mother called her my little miracle, because she had already lost 3 babies and the 4th one surviving was considered a miracle, but that's what happened. Anna was born a beautiful and healthy girl. At that moment, everything began to make sense to Anna. She said goodbye to Manuel and ran to her father and asked more about her mother and the baby she had. Her great-grandfather told her everything Manuel had told her about the babies her mother had lost, but they never knew the reason for it. Anna was almost certain of what had happened. She just needed to hear everything from the person who started it all, her grandmother. Anna tried to talk to Laura for days, but nothing came of her. She would often stay quiet or just speak incoherently. Her grandmother's moments of lucidity were rare. She would have to wait, and so she did. One day Laura woke up and said, "Good morning, my granddaughter. You look so tired. Is something wrong?" Anna then said, "Grandma, I need you to tell me the truth. I already know everything that happened, but I need to hear the truth from you or I will not have peace. Please tell me who my real father and mother are." Laura thought for a few seconds and a tear fell from her face. "My dear Anna, this is a sin that even if I lived another 100 years I would not be forgiven. I hid this from everyone for a long time and did everything for selfish reasons, but deep down I told myself it was for the good of my family. My unborn son and his wife dreamed of having a child, and my dream was to be a grandmother and see my son and his wife happy. She got pregnant 3 times, but she lived the longest and died at 1 year old. We were very poor and could not treat whatever the children had. I worked for a long time in the house of a very rich man, Manuel. He also had the dream of having a child with his wife. Both my grandson Manuel's wife and my son Manuel's wife got pregnant at the same time and had their babies on the same day. When you were born, I was no longer working for Manuel, I was working at the hospital. Now I want you to understand my side as a mother and grandmother. Even though I knew it wasn't right, I swapped you too when no one was looking. Back then, there wasn't as much security as there is today. I couldn't stand to see my son suffer anymore, and I was even afraid that I would do something wrong to him. You are Manuel's daughter. I knew that my unborn son's daughter would not survive long with the few conditions we had, so I put her in your place. Because he had the means, the girl lived for 18 years. If we had raised her, she would not have lived past a year. I condemned my soul, but I managed to give my son a wonderful daughter, and I also managed to give my biological granddaughter a longer life in a family with better conditions. I know that my sin is unforgivable. Every day I am haunted by what I did. I have never told anyone about it. I hope that one day I can forgive myself. It is a burden that I will carry until my last days." When Laura finished speaking, Anna just cried and said nothing. She didn't feel angry, she didn't feel sad, she just felt sorry for everything her grandmother went through and had to do. Laura couldn't handle so much emotion and fainted. Anna took her to the hospital and prayed for her grandmother to survive. While she was unconscious, Anna thought about what to do. It was too big a secret to keep from her. Both Nonato and Manuel must have known the truth. First, she called her father, the one who raised her all her life. Nonato had a sad expression on his face. He said that Anna was his daughter no matter if she was blood or not, but he wished he had met his biological daughter while she was still alive. Nonato also said that he forgave his mother for what she did, but that it was a terrible thing to do. Lastly, Anna had to talk to Manuel, her biological father. She didn't have his contact information, so she had to wait for him in the square. She didn't know how to tell him. When Manuel showed up, Anna invited him to have coffee and tell him everything. She told him every detail of what Laura had done. Manuel said, "I can't believe it. She took my biological daughter from me and still made me raise and love a girl she knew was sick." What kind of human being is she? I can't forgive her. I treated her like a friend even when she worked in my house, and yet I was betrayed and stabbed in the back. I need to do DNA to be sure. Manuel was quite agitated and nervous. Only anger was visible in his eyes. Laura was discharged from the hospital and Anna took the DNA test. The result was positive. When Manuel found out, he said, "Even if you are my daughter, I can't feel anything for you. I don't want to see you. I can't accept this." Manuel left furious and told them not to go after him ever again. Anna just cried, but didn't go after her father. Some time passed and they and Anna continued their lives normally. Her grandmother had fewer and fewer lucid moments. However, her granddaughter thought it was better for her, because whenever her consciousness returned, Laura was sad and haunted by what she had done in the past. Anna discovered where the girl who was exchanged with her was buried and wanted to visit her grave. Even though they were not related, Anna felt as if they were sisters, even though she had never met her. She went to the cemetery and found the place where she was buried. For a few minutes, Anna stood there praying for her soul. Suddenly, she felt a hand on her shoulder. It was Manuel. He then spoke. "I hope I didn't give the wrong impression. I'm not a bad or spiteful person, but the fact that my daughter died changed my life completely. When we brought her home, it was one of the happiest days of my life, but as she grew older, the symptoms of her illness began to appear. My wife and I suffered a lot with all of this. Over time, she stopped walking, talking, and sometimes she cried, but we didn't know why. When she passed away, my world fell apart, as did my wife's. My wife stopped smiling, barely ate, and left the house. Over time, she also became ill with sadness and cancer appeared. Years later, she also passed away. I was alone in the world and suffered a lot. That's why I want you to understand, what your grandmother did changed my life. I don't regret having raised her. Even though she's not my blood, I would raise her again as many times as necessary, but all of this changed my life. I can't forgive Laura, but I also don't want to carry a grudge for the rest of my life, because that would only hurt myself. I'm trying to look on the bright side. Now I have 2 daughters, one who is no longer with me and another that life decided to introduce me to." When he finished speaking, Anna hugged him. Nonato and Manuel met and had a good relationship, but Manuel only greeted Laura politely and never said anything more to her. Deep down, he had not forgiven her. Anna, on the other hand, had gained 2 parents who loved her, and she was happy that everything had been resolved over time. I hope you enjoyed the story. Like, comment, and share. Thanks for watching.